and welcome to the Marty Mariner Show. A little bit of a different show here today for all of you regulars, and for those people who are brand new and visiting us for the first time, welcome. My name is Marty, and this particular show is all about the World Cup. Normally we cover all things Central Coast Mariners. We have conversations with past players, with staff members, and with fans from around the country. We try and do our bit to help promote the A-League men's and women's competition in general, with a little bit of a focus there on the Mariners, of course. But if there's no game in the country, we don't have teams to support. So we always love to hear from supporters and fans from around the country about their own teams, what's going on in their own backyard, and sometimes touch on some funny things that happen within this game that we love within this country. But as I said at the start, this particular show is a little bit different because it's our World Cup preview show. World Cup kicks off in Qatar next week. I'm really looking forward to it. I think the closer it's got, the more I've looked forward to it. It's sort of the break in between the Premier League and the A-League seasons all stopping just seemed just quite, not right. But I'm really looking forward to the World Cup kicking off. The Socceroos have qualified. How good is that? Looking forward to seeing how they go. But then I thought to break down a World Cup is something a man cannot do alone, and I needed some help. So I called the boys from the It's a Football Thing YouTube channel. They have a show every Tuesday and a Thursday night, sometimes do some other stuff around the A-League as well, which is fantastic. They normally talk Premier League, international football. It's a great show. If you haven't checked them out, and the link will be in the description below, and I'll get the guys to tell you a little bit more about their channel when we introduce them very, very shortly. But Scotty, RJ, and Robby are absolutely top blokes. The fact that they're an Arsenal, Chelsea, and Man United supporter, well, despite that, they know their football, and I find it really hard to say bad things about them. So it is great that they are here. I'm really looking forward to breaking down the World Cup with them. We're going to go group by group and let you know who we think will go through from each group. And ultimately, I'm going to ask the boys who's going to win the World Cup in Qatar 2022. Really looking forward to bringing this one to you. It's coming up on the Marty Mariner Show. And welcome back to the Marty Mariner Show. And as I said in the preview, well, we've got a very special show on today. It's our World Cup preview show. And it's such a big event that I couldn't do this possibly by myself. So I've got three of the best in the business. Well, that's what they told me anyway. It's the boys from the It's a Football Thing YouTube channel. Scotty Borg, I'll introduce you first, mate. How are you doing?
And I'm doing well, my man, doing well. It's been a good weekend of football domestically, internationally. And, mate, we've got a World Cup just around the corner, so I cannot wait.
Absolutely. And I should say that Scotty is an Arsenal fan, a MacArthur fan, but I still can't fault him. He's a good bloke. So we'll start off with that. And top right corner, Robby, he's got the Australia flag pumping in the corner there. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Much like Scotty, we've had great weekend of football. Obviously, the Wanderers domestically, United in the Premier League, and even in Serie A, mate. Juventus got over the line this morning. Looking forward to the World Cup. A bit down that obviously Italy's not in there, but I'll be cheering on the mighty Socceroos.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'll be honest with you, man. I'll say it doesn't feel the same without Italy there. So that's just not the same thing. But them's the breaks. That's how it goes, as they say. RJ, how are you, my friend?
Thanks for having me on, Marty. Look, I can't say I share the same level of optimism and enthusiasm, although I was very happy with MacArthur's mighty win against your Mariners yesterday. Top game, as we said. And back in the mother country, it's good to see Inter get a great earned win against Atalanta. But all things considered, happy to be here.
Absolutely. It certainly was a big weekend of football coming into a World Cup where it was the last weekend for a lot of teams. And I was thinking it might be a lot of stalemate, kind of not negative, but kind of play it safe kind of football kind of thing. But no, there was results all over the place. So, Scotty, before we get going, mate, tell us about the It's a Football Thing channel that you guys do. It's a Tuesday night, Thursday night. I love it. It's an absolutely great show for all those out there who love a bit of Premier League and stuff. But, mate, tell us all about the channel.
Yeah, the channel's called It's a Football Thing. It's obviously co-hosted by myself, RJ, and Robby, the trio. And look, we cover our Premier League football, some A-League content at the moment. And it's just a great place to come for the live chat experience, the banter, some analysis here and there, but mainly the banter. And that's on a couple of times a week live at 8:30 p.m. But I know you've been a good man. You've put the channel link in the description. Make sure you check it out. Show the channel some love. Subscribe and join your man Marty in that live chat as well.
Absolutely, especially Spurs fans, guys, because I get outnumbered quite a fair bit, and there's not much love for Spurs on the show, but I love it anyway. It's okay. They just, it's an Arsenal fan, a Man United fan, and a Chelsea fan. So come and help me, guys. But highly recommend it. Come and join. Listen to these blokes. They know their football, and the live chat that goes along with it is a lot of fun as well. So Tuesday, Thursday nights, make sure you check it out. All right, boys, down to business. It's World Cup time. Before we get to the groups, for me, this World Cup seems really weird to have a season that stops. We have a World Cup, and then we're bang straight into a Premier League season, stuff like that. Robbie, we were talking briefly before about looking forward to the World Cup. Has this one felt the same for you, or does it just feel that little bit different?
Look, I think in general it hasn't had the hype or the build-up. Normally, the season normally finishes, come to a close. You normally got a bit of a 3-week gap, and then it's just, okay, the World Cup's here. It's it's got that real football festivities kind of feeling. This one here, it's pretty much just like an international break. It stopped yesterday, a week, and then this time next week it's already been a game in, and we'll be heading into the night matches. So look, I am excited now, knowing, because like I said, I'm a big fan of international football. I think that's football at its purest, and you can't do anything than be more proud than playing for your country on the biggest stage of them all. Again, very different how it's in the Middle East this year. A lot of different, bit of controversy towards this one, but it's football, mate, and it's a football thing, and I love it.
Absolutely. A nice plug for the show again there. Well done, Robbie. Well played. Scotty, the fact that basically the World Cup finishes and within a week we're back into the Premier League and stuff like that, there was lots of talk coming into this last month of players maybe back off a little bit because the World Cup coming up. There'll be a lot of clubs now hoping, because if you get an injury in the World Cup and you're straight back in the Premier League, you're missing a lot of games. That's got to be on the back of the minds of some of these players, right? Especially the coaches too.
And 100%. But I dare say that when any player pulls on their national team's jersey, you're going to a World Cup. You know what you're going to. It's a festival of football. And you can't play with anything less than 100%, because this is the world stage. This is the biggest sporting event. For me, trumps the Olympics by a mile. And every player who's there genuinely wants to be there. There's so many at home who'd be dying to get to a World Cup. So I think we're going to see players going hard. It is going. I do worry, like from an Arsenal perspective. I know it's an Arsenal show, but we're top of the league at the moment. But our squad, along with many others, is quite thin. A few injuries, and we might see a completely flipped second half of the Premier League season. So I think a lot of people will be watching very cautiously and with eyes wide open, because this could have really big implications on the second part of the season. So it's going to be intense. So no one is going to be playing half like in this World Cup. It's going to go off. It'll be great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And RJ, I mean, you're probably a bit like me. I mean, Chelsea have got players across a number of different sides. Are you someone who's just going to be keeping that eye open and just watching those games very carefully, mentally wrapping them up in cotton wool to make sure they get through?
I'm actually hoping they get put through to cleaners, Marty. Personally, I think they need a lot of firecrackers shoved in all different parts of the body, and hope and get them rejuvenated, because this, unlike your teams, respectively, I'm choosing to look at this as an opportunity to reinvigorate some of these good players and rediscover the form, because I look at my Mason Mounts, I look at my Mateo Kovacic's, I look at half of this star-studded squad, and beyond that, there are good players in there. They just need a little bit of a shake-up, and I'm hoping the World Cup provides that platform. So he's hoping.
Absolutely. And I'm sure it'll affect different teams in different ways. I'm absolutely convinced that at the other end of the World Cup, there'll be teams that have benefited out of it, and there'll be some that, the last thing they needed was the break. So I think it'll be very, very interesting. And coming into a Christmas period too, which is always a tough time. The winter back in England is going to be a lot different than it has been in Qatar. So I think, it's just it's throwing all the chips up in the air and seeing where they land with this one, I think. But look, boys, let's get on with the World Cup. We're just going to go group by group. We're going to keep the England group and the Australian group until the end. We'll just have a quick flick through these other ones just to give me your thoughts. And at the end of every group, I I want you to give me the two teams you think are going to go through from that group. And at the very end of the show, you're going to tell me who is going to win this World Cup. Robby, for you first, Group A, the host Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal, and the Netherlands. First games for the teams are on the 21st of November, as of recording 1 week today. Ecuador got Qatar and Senegal playing at the Netherlands. Mate, how do you see this group? Holland, to me, they haven't played. I think they failed to qualify for the 2016 Euros and the 2018 World Cup. Louis van Gaal's come in, probably turn things around for him relatively quickly. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, look, first thought is you look at the, I think there's two that really outbalance that group. Obviously, Senegal and obviously the Netherlands look like your two powerhouses in the group. Netherlands, we know majority of their team quite stacked all over Europe. And Senegal's got their fair share, a good handful of players that can rise to the occasion. They are the reigning African Cup champions. And we're speaking of champions, the host, they're the current Asian champions too. And we all know what a home World Cup can do with a home crowd. I do think they will have their backs up against the wall there because quality does sometimes can be overdone from passion. There's only so much home ground advantage can do. Obviously, they're going to be for the acclimatized to the situation of all the gangs and stuff. And even until today, I've done a little bit of research. I didn't realize every single player plays in Qatar. There's no like outsiders and stuff like that. So look, it'll be nice to see a country like them do well. But I think there will be a little bit like South Africa, how they were nearly the only nation that didn't get through in the World Cup as a host. But look, Netherlands strong favourites. And Senegal, for me, both go top this. Well, Senegal tops this. Netherlands top the group, followed by Senegal.
Okay, and Scotty, I mean, there's always pressure on the host, I guess. But when it comes to Qatar, I mean, as much as we sort of see them a fair bit, I guess in world football, they're still an unknown, right?
Yeah, I feel like, look, there's a lot of people not taking the nations from Asia and the Middle East seriously. And look, that might be to their detriment. It may not. I mean, there's obviously reasons why there's not a lot of attention and light being shone on footballing teams like Qatar, but you've got to beware of the teams you don't know, and they'll be up for this. They'll have the home crowd behind them, perfectly acclimatized. They all play in the domestic league, so very familiar. I don't think they'll be pushovers, but I also don't see them contending to get out of the group. Okay,
so what two have you got going through out of this one, man?
Look, it's the same as Robby, Netherlands and Senegal.
Yeah. And RJ, to me, Senegal are playing the Netherlands first up. I guess if you want to play them, you probably want to get them early before they've got a couple of games in the season, into the competition. You see that as an advantage for Senegal?
Could go both ways, Marty. Could be an advantage as well for Netherlands, to be honest, because once Senegal get fired up, I think they will use their physical superiority and the status of African Cup champions to propel them. I actually could see them topping the group and Netherlands going second, if I'm being bold, so to speak. But look, with Qatar, it's going to be interesting. Scott makes some good points about the chemistry, the acclimatization. I think that's going to be quite an underrated theme to see how the traditional powerhouses try to acclimatize with this quite humid and hot environment. I think that's going to interfere a lot with the quality and the fluency of a lot of these players, but I only think so much that can play a part. So I agree with the boys. I just have the order flipped around.
Even without Mane at the moment?
Yeah, it's a huge loss. Of course, it's a huge loss. But so I also look at Netherlands and think that they, even though they've had a couple of difficult periods recently, I still don't look at them in the same way that I used to when they were once a powerhouse nation. So, yeah, it's going to be a fascinating group.
No, absolutely. But I'm with you, boys. I'm Senegal and the Netherlands to get through in that one, although I agree it could be first, second, and the Quinella could go both ways in that particular group. Look, we'll skip over Group B because England's in that group, and we'll jump to Group C. Scotty, we've got Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Poland. Argentina under Scaloni have been playing pretty decent football. 2021 Copa America champions. Are they going to be looking for their third World Cup this year? Do you think they'll top this group?
Look, it's in the script, isn't it? I mean, Lionel Messi, you would say this is his last World Cup.
One of your favourites too, Scotty.
Well, yeah, I mean, last World Cup, he's one of the GOATs. He's not the GOAT. He's not my GOAT, but he's one of. They've been in phenomenal form. They've been a very hard team to beat. Coming off the back of that Copa America, there's nothing better for a squad. You wouldn't know this, Marty, as a Spurs fan, but nothing better for them winning. Like lifting a cup, it makes a big difference. Sorry, Matt, I had to.
The edit's going to be great in that, yeah.
There's not a lot to say about Argentina because you know what they've got. You know how they're going to play. They're going to try and put everything on a platter for Messi. And if they can't put it on a platter, he's good enough to do it himself. So he's definitely well loved in the Middle East as well. He's going to have a lot of support from the neutrals. I think we see packed stadiums for this guy, and he'll just be cheered by everyone. So it's certainly in the script, and I think they'll have a good cup. Also in their the Saudis, they topped the qualifying group, and they topped quite a hard group, Marty, and they've also they've scored in a World Cup. They won a match in the last World Cup. They've won the Asian Champions League. They're someone that maybe you don't want to sleep on too much. They play very fast football. They're technically much more gifted than they're getting credit for. And they've got one guy, Al-Dosari. The only thing that really is against him at the moment is he's just had appendix surgery. So he's their talisman, but he could be missing. I was trying to do a little bit of digging, find out some news on whether he'd be there, but he's in the squad, but fitness will be interesting. So interesting to see what the Saudis do. Mexico as well. For me, I'm not feeling the vibes for them. That they've been really poor in recent times. I've had a lot of losses, stalemates, the Jimenez not firing. I just worry that they're going to have the firepower to really do what they need to do. So Mexico, not too much love for as well. But yeah, I don't know. Where are you at with this group, Marty? What do you think about it?
Mate, I think Argentina, I mean, I'll bit of a spoiler. I'm actually tipping Argentina to take out the lot. I actually think that they'll do that. I'll explain a little bit later why. But I was looking for a group of death when I was looking at these earlier, and I don't think there's a standout, but I think this is a really tough group because I don't think Poland won't be an easy team to play. They're gonna want to, they're going to want to compete and be amongst it as well. So look, I think it's a tough one. I can see Argentina getting through. But Robby, when I was, the more I think about Argentina, the one thing that I keep coming back to is their attack is brilliant. They've got some of the most gifted players. It's at the back that's their concern, right?
Oh, look, I'm not going to fully agree with that. Go back to 2014 and we could say, look, Argentina was pretty much a Ferrari up front and a Honda Civic in the defense. I think the team's a lot more balanced for a change and not so Messi reliant, as we've seen in the Copa America last year as well. Players like Martinez up top, obviously he's been in great form at Inter and he's been scoring quite a lot of goals for the national team. Messi's there. Di Maria in the national team is next level all the time. Obviously, people like Depor in your midfield. And then you've got your own
Martinez, Robby at the back.
Emi Martinez, and obviously we have one from it's a North London defense, man. You got Christian Romero in the defense as well. So I just Tagliafico, they've got the wing backs. It's just a very balanced team, and like I said, I think it's 33 games now unbeaten. It's similar vibes to obviously when Italy under Mancini had last year in the Euros, we had 35 games unbeaten, went into and all the way to and obviously become European champions. So look, I do think that again they're going to go very, very deep in this one, and I just think it's a good thing that they're not so Messi reliant as they were the last time they made it to the pinnacle.
Poland worry me in this group, boys, because we speak about Argentina not needing to be as Messi reliant anymore. You look at Poland and everyone knows their talismans. Right? Lewandowski is the man. But you look at Poland Lewandowski, and I don't think that tactically they've ever found a really effective way to utilize him.
Yeah.
Now, for me, the midfield is quite weak, and I think this is a lot of the problem with Lewandowski. He's not quite getting the service that he's used to playing for these elite clubs like Bayern, Barca, etc. So for me, I'm tipping them as one of my teams to have a really, really disappointing cup. I actually don't think they're going to get out of this group because I don't think they know how to harness Lewandowski. It's like having a Ferrari, but you can't put the fuel in the tank. Like, it's kind of pointless. It's pretty, but ineffective.
Yeah. So who are you going to tip to go through with Argentina out of that one?
You know what? I'm actually going for the Saudis.
Right.
The more I dug today and the more I looked at what they've done, particularly, I mean, Australia know about Saudi Arabia. We've seen them around. For them to top their qualifying group, the form they come into, climate-wise, this is not going to be a problem for them. I actually think they're a very quick team, and that speed in their attack is really going to put Poland on the back foot, Mexico on the back foot. I think that they could be a real dark horse to get to the knockouts.
Okay. And RJ, I mean, we'll take it that we're thinking that Argentina will go through. Well, what's your thoughts on those other three teams, mate? Who will join them?
Yeah, it's just interesting on Argentina and not over relying on Messi. Wind the clock back, led his country to a Copa America, 4 goals, 5 assists. Di Maria helped them in the final. But again, that's just showing for a guy that's on the wrong side of the bell curve and in an aging profile, he still has so much influence. He's obviously on 27, 28 goals and assists this season. He's primed and ready to get Messi for everybody else around him, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be a problem. But the other teams, look, what I will say for Poland, I agree that they struggle to really inject the likes of with Lewandowski up top, and they've obviously got Piatek there as well. I think the strategy then will be to just be more direct, to be able to, if they can't rely on the midfield, they're just going to have to be a little bit more direct to get them into those channels and get them more on the ball. So I don't want to dismiss them just straight away, but I do agree that they will struggle, in my opinion, as well. But when I look at the other teams, yes, the Green Falcons, the Saudis will run you hard. They've got a couple of interesting players, but I'm not sure quality-wise they've got enough to quite cut it at this particular level. And Mexico, they're a team, if not anything, they're consistent and consistently good at making it to the round of 16. Last 7 tournaments, round of 16. So, mate, it's not a nailed on for anything for me in that second spot, but Argentina first. And if I had to pick one, which I am, I'm actually going to go for Poland as well to get out.
Yeah, so Poland was my second one as well. I still think, again, I think they've got very a lot of people are looking past the chemistry. 80% of the Polish team all plays in the Serie A. Got a lot of chemistry there. Again, normally play the 4-4-2. I think it was just
Milik's
after the last
player as well, Robby.
Milik is a very good support. He's in good form at Juventus at the moment. He'll partner Lewandowski well. And Zielinski has been in the form of his life this season at Napoli. So him and again, like Szczesny in goal, they have got a fair few players. They neutralized Cash at the back there as a wing back position, and he's been a massive upgrade for them. So yeah, for me, I think obviously 3 from 3 in Argentina. I think they clean up this group. But for me, I've got the Poles going in second, and I think the only curse is going to be the Mexico. They normally make it to the round of 16. This one, for me, they don't get out of the group.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be, as I said, I don't think it's the group of death. We'll get to that shortly, but I think it's going to be a really tight group. I'm actually with Scotty. I think Saudi. I think they're going to be really tough to play against. It is essentially, it's going to feel a lot like home. And I just think that's going to be something that's going to be in their favour, especially early on. I think they might cause Argentina a bit of a hassle in that first game. So we will see what happens in that one. Group D, we're going to leave because that's the mighty Socceroos. So we'll chat about that one at the end. RJ, Group E, Spain, Costa Rica, Germany, and Japan. Now, when I looked at it, I've got this as my group of death because I just think personally Spain and Germany in the same group. I think there's quality through those. We know that pretty well. I don't think you can write off Costa Rica, or as much as I think they may be the weakest in this group, but they're not a weak team. And Japan, we've seen them. We've seen enough. We know how well Japan can play. So, RJ, having a look at this one, mate, what'd you come up with?
It's fascinating, mate. I did, when you mentioned group of death sort of stuff, I think, hang on, we've got a possible candidate here. This is actually some really quality teams here, particularly. I look at Spain and I think they were very, very close to going all the way in the Euros. Italy beat them on penalties.
Yep.
They controlled large parts of that match. And I'm not saying Italy didn't deserve it, but if Spain had gotten through, I was confident that they would win. They would have beaten England in the final as well.
Yep.
Like, they're just a team that's got a really good blend of really hot, prodigious talent coming through, i.e. Pedri, top talent. And then you've got some really experienced players, obviously Busquets anchoring and holding things. This is probably his last one. So I think the combination of real experience that have been there, won that, as well as the real hot superstars of today and tomorrow, they've got a really risk-taking philosophy. They just really like to pin teams. They don't care about anybody else. They don't like to play deep. They like to go aggressive, go hard, and play in the opponent's area. And more often than not, they're really good at finding openings to the most difficult of defenses. So I think, spoiler alert, they, for me, are going to top that group, I think. I'm pretty confident about that. And look, it's hard to not look past Germany just because of the star power on paper. Yes, Timo Werner's injury is not going to help them. And ironically, he's been quite good in the national team. Kai Havertz, again, he's another player that seems to find his feet when playing for the national team. But just with the midfield with Kimmich, Goretzka, who's someone that's, to me, a very underrated player. I think he's so good in his Bayern team. And I think he's going to be quite crucial for Germany's chances to go very deep in this tournament. So I think them two progress. I actually think that Japan will make it difficult for those two former teams. And I have them coming in third place just because we've seen what they can do at an Oceania level. And unfortunately, as difficult as Costa Rica will be based on their ability to play in a hotter environment, I think they represent the weakest link in this group.
Absolutely. Robbie, have you got the two Europeans on top?
I do, mate. I'm pretty much nearly mirrored exactly what RJ said. I've got the same at the top. I've got Spain over the Germans for pretty much exact same reasons. And yeah, I've got the Japanese that I think, again, I don't think there'll be a pushover in this team. If there was one, they, it would not surprise me if they try and push like a Germany or something like that, very quick on the break. And a team that they're not bad defensively. Obviously, not to the quality of what we're seeing of the two big powerhouses in the group. For me, Costa Rica, I'll be amazed if they get a point, to be honest. This is pretty much the exact same team from the 2014 when they had that amazing World Cup. People like, they got 38-year-old, I think it was Brian Louise was their captain back then. They got Campbell that used to be at Arsenal there. Like, it's literally like the same team. So this kind of reminds me of, like, it's very much the end of their golden generation. Like, it's the same thing that happened with, like, Chile, who isn't there this year. They just milked the country as much as they could, and then unfortunately they're going to fall off. So for me, they'll be the cellar dwellers of this group.
Absolutely. And Scotty, I mean, we know Japan pretty well. Obviously, we've seen them a fair bit. We know how powerful they can be. Are they probably the ones, as what Robbie said, who can challenge those European teams for a top two?
Yeah, for me, they're the one who will challenge more so than Costa Rica. But I'm actually in a different order to the boys. I don't see Spain topping the group. I actually think the Germans will. And there's one problem when I watch Spain, when I look at Spain, and the name's Alvaro Morata. Like, he will probably start up front for them, I think. And I don't back that guy to score anyway.
Spanish Morata's not bad, but he does turn up in big games, mate. And
I still think they need someone who's banging in the goals. They're a very creative team. I have no doubt that Spain will create.
Germany haven't got that either, but like we're just talking about, they haven't got that striker. Like, their most creative player is Muller, who creates, but their goal scorer, I wouldn't bank on any of them at the moment to sink goals back, like when they had their Podolskis and like their closest and people like that.
I just think with them, like with Spain, for example, a lot of their attacking players that they're going to need to be right on form are very young. I think that inexperience, a World Cup, I just think that's going to go against them. I still have Spain going through. I just have them going through second. The Germans, to me, are quite professional outfit. There's a bit more experience in there. And just some more veterans, I think, to guide it. It's a shame that Timo Werner's been injured, because I think with him there, the form he was in, and German Werner is a different beast. I think they do it more convincingly, but I'm going with Germany to top the group, Spain in second, and Japan just to fall outside.
Yeah. No, well, I'm with you guys. As I said, I mean, I'm going to tip Spain to come first, but it wouldn't surprise me if Germany did. I just think it'll probably come down the game they play each other, which sounds quite the way to go, but it'll probably end up that way. Group F. Now, this is a funny one for me. Belgium, Canada, Morocco, and Croatia. Now, I straight away thought, Belgium, Croatia, relatively can't see Canada getting through. Morocco seems pretty straightforward. Belgium, to me, I mean, they were, third in the last World Cup, but essentially the same sort of looking team. Robby, you look on paper, and to me, straight away, I thought, Belgium will walk it. Is that what you see when you see this group?
No, I don't think they'll walk it, to be honest. I think they'll be pushed, or even for me, I've actually got Croatia topping this group over Belgium. I think Croatia underratedly have one of the best midfields in the whole tournament, if I'm being honest. The experience of Modric, mate, this guy has not dropped off form. Yes, this is probably going to be his last one, so I'm sure he's going to want to go as hard as they can. Again, Brozovic at Inter, one of the best midfielders in Europe for me, holds it. And then, the Chelsea Kovacic, mate. Those three are a lot of experience, a lot of big games there. Obviously, a runner-up at the last World Cup. They've rejuvenized their defense, mate. A lot of people say, this is an aging team. They've pretty much wiped out their 2018 defense. They've got a new defense in. Yeah. Obviously, you got your experienced people like your Perisic, again, for Croatia, always turns up. They haven't got that number 9 like their Mandzukic. They've got a few players that are good, in the domestic league, and a few floating around Europe that can score goals. But again, no one that's going to bang in like 100 goals to get them over the line. Yeah. For me, it's the Belgians. This golden generation has been going since 2014. And Eden Hazard is not Eden Hazard that we knew back in the Chelsea days. He barely plays at Real Madrid. He's not the man anymore. Kevin De Bruyne, look, he's the one that's gonna. Kevin De Bruyne, Yuli Tillemans are right, but some of the other boys there, like their defense, for me, they're still relying on Alderweireld and Vertonghen. There's no pace there. They're aging. I just think that Croatia, I just think they've got that little bit too much class over this Belgium squad for me. And I think, this golden generation is going to be in that little bit of pressure to try and win one international trophy before they die out as well. So I've got Croatia in this, obviously. And I'm not forgetting the other two. Canada, obviously this is their first time since 1986 back in the World Cup.
Yep.
They absolutely blitz their qualifying, and it's normally your Mexico and your USA that top that. They absolutely blitz everything. Obviously, Alphonso Davies is their main man. He's been injured for quite a while. He's been caught up, but I don't even know if he'll see the pitch. It's similar to a few other countries that have caught on their injured marksmen to get them over the line. And Morocco, Ziyech, Hakimi, obviously they're two superstars there. And again, another decent team from AFCON. I do think the two powerhouses get through this with ease, So I am going Croatia and then Belgium second.
RJ, are you in the Belgium-Croatia camp as well?
I think so. Rob makes some compelling cases. I'm a big fan of Croatia's middle area. Like they're just class, power, dribbling ability. If they're going to go far, and the good thing about, even though they're an aging team, it's only a short, it's an intense sort of time. Like it's not a whole season worth that you need to rely on them for a very short period of time. They have enough legs to get through it. It'll be interesting to know the effect of a mid-season type World Cup. If this was at the end of the season, I think they're more rested and refreshed, etc. So it'll be interesting to see how the likes of Luka Modric adjusts in this particular climate, again, being a little bit tender in age, etc. But I think they've got enough class to get through quite convincingly. It's just, I'm not quite sure if they will top it versus Belgium, because I agree Belgium has flattered to deceive despite all the big names on paper. All these superstars have failed to deliver on the big stage, but one player that hasn't failed on the big stage and can be quite important for them is the big bloke between the sticks, Courtois. You know what I mean? He's a huge presence in more ways than one, and I think he could quietly be quite an important player that helps carry them across the line into top spot for me.
Absolutely. And Scotty, I mean, every World Cup, there's a team that surprises. There's always a team that, I mean, they might scrape through a group or they whatever. Yeah. Can you see Canada or Morocco being that team?
Sorry, mate. No, I can't this time. It's too hard to go past those two countries. But again, there's been a bit of a theme of the night. I don't agree with the boys. I've got the order flipped. I just think Croatia's got an excellent midfield, but the defense, okay. The attack, mediocre for me. Like that midfield, which is all class. I agree with the comment saying one of the best in the world. They can only do so much. Like Kovacic isn't a recognised goal scorer. Brozovic, he could chip in. Modric is a big game player, but I just think there's a little bit more spark in the Belgium team, to be completely honest, topped off by Kevin De Bruyne, who for me is one of the best players in the world. So I think Belgium have too much class for Croatia and the other teams in the group, and they'll top this with the Croatians coming in second place.
So do you rate their defense? The
Belgium's?
Defense? For
look,
me,
you said so yourself. Croatia have changed theirs up. Some younger players, some fresher players. Again, playing in a World Cup is not playing local pub soccer. Yeah. Pressure, nerves, expectations. And then at least on the Belgium side, there's plenty of, chemistry there. Not necessarily fast, I agree. And that's why I'm not tipping them to go far in the tournament. But I think that experience, sometimes you've got someone like Thiago Silva. I don't think he's a quick player, but he's experienced and he's smart and he's strong.
Yeah.
RJ, he's not quick. Don't try and argue.
He's faster than Saliba, mate. Get real. Yeah. He's a top player. But Rob makes a good point, though. Belgium's defense is questionable, but I think it's stronger. It's stronger than what people probably do recognise, because that chemistry is a bit of an underrated asset, I think, in a short tournament.
I just think as well, like, see, if you go back 4 years ago, I just think their attack was on fire. Lukaku's going in injured at the moment. Again, I think maybe by the second game or the third game, he'll be ready to play. Mertens at the end of his career. Carrasco, end of his career. They've got a lot of these boys that
they've got the Batman, Robbie. What are you talking about?
Yeah, the Batman. Yeah. Well, he's, again, as you know, not the best clinical goal scorer as well, man. So for me, Kevin De Bruyne and Tielemans are the ones that are going to have to bag all their goals, mate, from midfield. Because at the moment, I just don't think that
I think they've got more quality up front than Croatia.
I agree, but that's what I mean. But I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. And look, flip of a coin, but I'm still going to go Croatians for this.
Oh, I agree. It's going to be tight. A lot of these so far have been really tight. It is flip of a coin. In some, it's going to come down to a moment, a call, a mistake. But those mistakes are the things that I don't think Belgium will have as much of in their defence as Croatia. So
Marty, just to be clear, put Rob and Scott down as Morocco topping the group undefeated.
That's what I've got, mate. That's what's on the record. So we could definitely go with that one.
Clip it. It's a lock.
It's a lock. We lock that one. We know what happens with locks, don't we? We know what happens with locks. Scotty, we'll stay with you, mate. Group G, Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, and Cameroon. I've got a soft spot for Cameroon. The old Roger Miller days, and back in the day with his socks rolled down, dancing with a corner flag, even before Timmy Cahill was probably even born, but back in the day. Brazil, what's it been now? 20 years since they've won a World Cup?
Yep, 2002. Yep, 20 years.
Not good enough for Brazil, so they'd be fired. But how do you see this group, man?
Look, I see this coming down to a shootout because Brazil are going to fly. Brazil will fly through this group. I look at that attack. Neymar, Martinelli, Vinny, Anthony, the 360 spin around merchant.
Richarlison.
Rafinha, no, I'm not even going to mention him, mate. But you know what? He'll probably start. And I think he's it's just interesting. Then you've got their attack, their whole squad is so stacked and filled with class.
Unbelievable.
Even at the back though, Marty, people often talk about their defense, but God, there's some experience in there. Like Thiago Silva, Rolls Royce for his age, like all jokes aside, and he will lead that defense. Alisson in goals, like it's just Casemiro in the middle, Bruno Guimaraes. You can't go past this team in terms of quality. If someone can find me a legitimate, serious weakness in the Brazil squad, I'll listen. But at the moment, I've looked at their list a fair bit. I can't see that weakness. I think then them winning every game, which is what I expect them to do, leaves us in a straight shootout between Serbia and Switzerland. Now, when you think about Switzerland, they're one of the only teams that have reached the knockout stage of their last 4 tournaments.
Absolutely.
World Cup, Euros, that they seem to get through there. And they've got a man in the middle, Granit Xhaka, who, when he pulls on that Swiss jersey, and I mean, he's been doing it this season for Arsenal, he just turns into like prime world-class elite midfielder. So I think that the Swiss team hasn't seen a lot of change, and that will serve them in their favour. They've got excellent chemistry. They're a very resilient team, hard to break down. And with the leadership of Xhaka, them and Serbia are really going to have a tough time. You've then got the Serbs. They've got Mitrovic up front, who's going to be the main man. Absolutely. Obviously not their only quality player. They've got a lot of quality players. But I think a lot of this World Cup comes down to Mitrovic. How well can they supply him? Mm-hmm. How well can he finish? So, you know, his season's been good. And I think they'll give them a really tough run. I do have the Swiss going through in second. But again, flip of the coin. It's going to come down to Serbia, Switzerland, who wins and why.
RJ, I know I mentioned group of death before. I don't think it's quite a group of death, but geez, I think it's a tough one for that second spot. What's your impressions, mate? We can probably stick with Brazil, but out of those other 3, who you got going through?
Tough one. I agree with Scotty on the Brazil analysis, and I look at some of those other names, even Militao. Nobody's talking about the great work he does at the back for Madrid. Yep. They're just a hot team. I don't know if there's too many weaknesses per se. Maybe a bit of arrogance, maybe a classic Alisson/Edison blunder or 2. That would be nice. But apart from that, they're looking pretty yellow and green hot for them.
Well, it's a squad that Firmino can't even get into. So
I know. I was shocked, mate. I was. But then you're like, well, who do you swap for him? And I'm thinking, surely Richarlison, he's a Spurs player. He's not used to winning. Yeah. So get rid of him.
There's an imposter out at Arsenal, but we won't go into that right now.
Exactly.
Anyway, RJ, continue.
Back to it. So, look, I'm actually going to disagree with the second place finish. I know Switzerland broke my poor heart as an Italian fan, of course.
Yep.
I'm still not convinced, though, of what I'm seeing from Switzerland yet. They got past, and credit to them. They've got some stability, I agree. But I look at some of these names at Serbia, and it's not just Mitrovic. I know it's like that. Yeah, Milinkovic-Savic. He is a perennially underrated player at Lazio. I think he does some amazing things there. They've got some other strong, obviously, they've got some other strong. Kostic from Juventus. I think these players are in hot form. I think they could do a real number, and I reckon I'll actually beat Switzerland, and I think I'll come second. And Cameroon, let's not forget, there's some quality individuals in that team, and I think the wild card is that they're going to steal a point or 2, and that's what's going to make the difference for others.
No, absolutely. And Brazil play Serbia first up too. I think that's going to be absolute one of the first round cracking games to be watching for everyone. Robby, what's your thoughts, mate? You're with Brazil, but how do you break open those other 3?
Mate, I think me and RJ great minds think alike, because I'm pretty
delusion or delusion.
Illusion, mate, illusion. No, again, I'm on the Serbian train again for this one. I've done my bracket quite a few times, and every time I'm putting the Serbs in, and Milinkovic-Savic in the 10. These guys actually played each other. Brazil and Serbia played in the last World Cup in the same group as well. I'm pretty sure it was, and they they weren't a pushover. Again, Milinkovic in the other Milinkovic in defense, very underrated player. Obviously, up top they got the 2 boys, as we've already talked about, Vlahovic and Mitrovic. I just think that these guys topped the group against Portugal to qualify as well. So that's no slouch. Yes, there might have been a little bit of controversy with the no goal line technology, but still they pushed it all the way to the top, and they got the automatic spot. I do have a lot of respect for Switzerland. As Scotty said, they've made the round of 16 for the Euros and the World Cups on numerous occasions. Again, a lot of experience in there, but I just think that the Serbs, I think they're going to get one over them on this one, and I think they're going to get that second spot.
Very nice. Well, I'm with you. To me, again, it's like what we said in the last group. That Serbia-Switzerland game is probably going to decide who comes second, and it's only 3 games in the group. And I think that's how it's going to come down to it. But
I think they play each other on the third one.
It's the last one.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah. And I did read today that Brazil haven't played European opposition since 2019. Now, I don't think that means anything because obviously a lot of their players play in Europe, but I just thought that was interesting that the European style football, if you like, and the South American type, there's a few things, but I think they're just too strong. I don't think that'll make much difference. But I found it a bit interesting. But I guess with COVID, it was a bit hard to travel in those times. And RJ, Group H, Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, and Korean Republic. I'll say the pun. Who's Ghana get out of this group?
I like it.
I like that one. Well,
Saved you from doing it.
I reckon.
You knew he was going to.
Oh, for sure, he had to. It's a football thing, Marty. There's
It is
another
a football
one for
thing.
you.
It is a football.
But I look at this group, and a team that really stands out for me is Portugal, but not for the reasons we're all thinking about. You've got a squad here. Defensively, it looks very, very strong. Like we said, you look at the list, and oh, mate, like just a beacon of stability. Ruben Dias, top player. Cancelo, top player. Dallo, top player. These are players in pristine form. Midfield, very strong. Creative. Fernandes, Bernardo. They've just, to me, this looks like one of the most formidable Portuguese sides that I've seen in some time. Up top, it's a little bit different. João Felix, Rafael Leao, who to me, he's a player. If he gets his attitude spot on, he could be one of the most scintillating players in world football. And obviously, the elephant in the room is the guy that gives out controversial interviews at the back end of his career at United. Look, it's a really unfortunate thing that's happened there. And this is not a show about him, of course. But I wonder what his mindset is for this tournament. Is he going to go out there and say, I'm going to show the manager I don't respect, the club that I've just burnt my bridges with, that they've treated me wrong and I am the best because they should respect me as being an icon? Or is all of this noise that's created going to actually affect his performances in the World Cup? Fortunately for Portugal, they can future-proof themselves without Ronaldo because I think they've got enough quality to overcome the distractions of what this guy brings. But in terms of the other teams in that group, I've got to be honest with you, I'm not really convinced on South Korea. I know that they are a team that can cause a lot of trouble, but I'm really banking on the experience of Uruguay, particularly those players in the tail end of their careers. You know, we've got the very hungry Suarez, who I'm sure is going to have an extra appetite for wanting to go out on a high. Diego Godin, you know what he can do. And of course, a player that I've had so much respect for over his career, Edison Cavani. I think those players there talk about experience, talk about chemistry, talk about being there, done that, won that. These players here, they know that it's the last hurrah for them, and I think that they'll do enough to progress out of this group.
Yeah, I'm probably with you there, Scotty. The other thing, I mean, obviously, as everyone knows, being a Spurs fan, Sonny coming back from his fractured cheekbone and hasn't been in form at all this year, and is the main guy for Korea, really. If he's not firing, nothing will. I think that's going to be to their detriment, and I think that's probably dropped them down a peg or two. But Ghana are a team that worry me a little bit because I think they actually play, when you look at their results, they play with a pretty fast pace. What's your thoughts on this group?
Look, I think Ghana are a good team, but I just think that quality of Uruguay, the South Americans, will put them through in second place. I do think we are going to see the hungriest, most fired-up version of Ronaldo that we've seen at any World Cup. I think he's going to come out and have an absolute banger, and I think he's going to fire them to the top of the group. He's got a point to prove now. You can't come out and speak the way he did and then back it up with a bang average World Cup. So he's going to be really fiery. He's going to want the ball. He's going to want to do magic with it. But that can sometimes backfire. Sometimes the more you want the ball, the more likely you are to overplay and make mistakes. But I don't think that's going to happen in this group stage anyway. They for me, have by far more than enough quality. But the dynamic with him and Bruno will be very interesting. I'm curious to see what happens there. But I still think they top the group regardless.
Yeah. And who have you got to go through with them? You think Uruguay will follow?
Uruguay, yeah. Just a bit too much quality, but I think Ghana could potentially cause some problems and come in second. But if I'm a betting man, I'm going to go Uruguay. Just a bit too much experience and quality.
across the park. And Robby, maybe I'm just sort of asking the wrong guy, being the Man United fan with all this Ronaldo stuff happening, but Ronaldo hasn't been playing very much at all. Fernando Santos is, relatively strong coach. Does he start Ronaldo?
Look, for me, I actually, coming from the United fan, I actually think Ronaldo is the weakest link in his team, if I'm going to be honest with you. I think that he's actually going to be exactly the opposite of what Scotty said. Again, I agree with RJ. I think this team has got so much class at the top of their level all over the park, from their goalkeeper to their midfield and their attack. And I just think, the United fan and Juve fan, Ronaldo is the GOAT for me, one of my favorite players ever. But it just comes a time when you get to the pinnacle, and then, as much as he wants to be there and the best, I just don't think it's going to happen for him, to be honest. And I think if the coach Santos is persistent and just keeps continuously playing him down the middle, unlike how Ten Hag has been, okay, I don't think you're suiting the system, and I think your best position is off the bench and try and make an impact at some point. I just think he slows down the attack and is too much of a focal point at the moment. Everything's got to go through him, as we've seen, not just at United or Juventus, but Portugal too. And in the last few internationals, you have a look, he hasn't been on the score sheet when he's normally there 1, 2, 3 times. So again, the future with your Rafael Leao, Andre still is a good backup. You got your wingers, the midfield, so creative. There's goals. I reckon there's more goals in that midfield than their attack, if you're being honest. So look, and again, I think a lot of people are just batting it away at the Uruguayans, and I'm not their massive fans, but I think they can definitely cause Portugal trouble in this as well. I don't think this is going to be a run over for Portugal. Uruguay, in international competitions have got the number over Portugal a few times. I think even in the last World Cup, they knocked them out, possibly, if I'm right. So yeah, look, I think that Cavani, Suarez, Godin as well, a lot of experience there. I know as a Spurs fan, you're shouting out Bentancur in midfield, very underrated player. And then they've got the donkey from Liverpool there, Darwin Newland, who's the new generation for their strike force. So I do think those two will go through, and I'm not confident, to be honest. I think it's a flip of a coin who gets that first position. So look, if you're going to press me for an answer, we'll say Portugal, but I don't think it's going to be as like a Brazil or an Argentina, and they're going to fly through it.
Okay, nice. I'm just more interested because obviously the cameras are going to be everywhere that everywhere Ronaldo goes, they're going to be there. The pressure on him to play or not play, or how he's talking, as we said, with his teammates from here. That I think that dynamic will be really interesting, and I'm sure there'll be a story at some stage will come out about Ronaldo and his team during the World Cup.
There's a big difference, Marty, though, between playing somewhere where you're happy and you feel appreciated and you feel elite, to playing somewhere where you're not happy and you feel let down, and there's a big difference. So we do know that he likes representing Portugal. We know he takes a lot of pride in representing his country. So I dare say that he's going to switch on and kind of put this at the back. He's putting himself in the shop window also, because I dare say he's not playing another game for Manchester United. So he needs to show he's not going to want to play in the Conference League. He's got to show a club, maybe the club of the guy underneath me, that he's still got it and he can finish.
Yeah,
we'll see that.
That seems to be a common word we can agree on with the finish part. I agree, totally finished. But it'll be interesting to know, seriously speaking, culturally, will Santos and the team want to work with someone who's gone out and handled the situation how he's handled it? Because there's more than one way to do that stuff, and that's really, as I said, very audacious. So we'll see. Good luck to him.
It'll be interesting.
It'll be very interesting. As I said, I'm waiting for that first headline to hit the papers on one particular morning. Shows my age by talking about papers and not the internet, but there you go. All right, let's just jump back to Group B. England, Iran, USA, and Wales. You guys covered the English Premier League all over the joint. Robby, I'll start with you. The English team, when it was announced, did you go, yeah, that's what I thought, or were you shaking your head?
A little bit of both. I think, as always, Southgate, mate, I think we could have all handpicked these favourites. We're always going to be there. always going against his word. I pick on form and all this stuff that he says, promises everyone everything, and bang, people like your Harry Maguire, first name on the team sheet. Look, I was surprised that Madison was in there. I think deservingly he should be there, but I was surprised that he actually went in for him. For me personally, again, RJ might have a different thought. I think I would have taken a risk on Reece James, and from what I've seen on his socials, I think he would have been happy to take the risk on himself. To be honest, there's quite a few nations that have taken injury players, and I think that England will breeze this group and will easily make it into the knockout stages, and I think they would have should have taken a risk on someone like a Reece James, who I think could be a massive part and a big player that's going to be.
Robbie? You've got Trent Alexander-Arnold,
the worst defensive fullback.
You've got Kieran Trippier.
Trippier is good.
It's not
but
like
who's better, Reece James or Trippier? No, but
it's not like they're desperate.
Look at Chelsea right now, how desperate they are without him, how much they've...
Mate, there's a lot of problems at Chelsea, but it's not like England don't have a right back to
I never said that.
To waste a squad place on a guy who's not fit and hasn't played in a while. Like, he's not even going to scrape a couple of games before the Cup. No chance I'm taking that risk. Not when you've got Trippier.
Yeah, Trippier's good, but I still think Reece James is better. Kyle Walker's injured as well, or he's coming off the back of an injury as well. Look, put it that way, I still think on paper, for me personally, as much as we like to banter the English, I think again they've got one of the best squads in the tournament, and I think on their day, and if Gareth Southgate lets them play and takes the shackles off, mate, their attack is just as good as the Brazilian, mate. They've definitely they're playing the best league in the world. They've got chemistry. This is a team with a lot of youth, a lot of creativity, a lot of firepower. And again, banter aside as well, Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw were in team of the season in the Euros last year, and they always do seem to turn up for England. So I think Jude Bellingham, I think for me, spoiler alert, for me, he's going to be the breakout player of the tournament. I have been on this kid for quite a few years since his Dortmund days. I think he's got youth, he's got creativity, he's box to box. Him and someone who I know has big raps like RJ, Declan Rice, for me in the six, or he can even push up himself. Very good for protecting the defense. I just think they're stacked all over the place. I just think that Gareth Southgate is the one that's going to hold them back, if anything. So for me, they top this group. I got the Welsh coming in second as well. I think they've got enough players there. Dan James, I just think his pace is going to outburn anyone. And that's not because he played for United. I've seen what happened this morning again. I think wherever he goes, his pace is his biggest weapon. Gareth Bale, Aaron Ramsey, even people like you, Joe Allen. There's their last World Cup. They've got the experience there. I think they'll just scrape. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think they just scrape second there. America, bottom of the group. So remind me, who was the third country?
Iran.
Oh, look, again, I haven't been given a lot of respect to the Asian nations, but I think Iran, if anything, could push for the second one. I do think that they'll just miss out. I even think this could go down the goals for second. I think that on points, they could possibly get enough points to equal Wales. I just think this is going to come down to goal difference for that second spot.
That's fair enough too. And Scotty, England, someone was talking to me today and saying how similar England are to Tottenham, which you'll absolutely love. They're dire at the back, literally. They play in blue shorts and white shirts, and they rely on Harry Kane. Is that a pretty accurate?
They don't win trophies.
They don't win trophies.
I love that one.
Marty, they're a good team, man. Their squad is brilliant on paper. The only problem for me, their weakest link is their manager. He's a stubborn manager. He's an inexperienced manager outside of this England job, and he's not a guy who I think can play attacking football, which just makes half the players in this squad useless. Not to mention, I think outside of Declan Rice and Bellingham, the other guys they've got in the middle of the park, Henderson, not in form, Conor Gallagher, not in form, Mason Mount, certainly not in form, and he's a player I really rate, so that's not banter. I think having they've got a lot of players not in form. Trent Alexander-Arnold, not in form. Dyer, nope. Maguire, hopeless. But there's just a lot of squads are coming in. You look at Brazil, they've got a lot of players coming in hot form.
Yeah, playing well.
Whereas England, outside of Madison, who won't play, Harry Kane,
Grealish,
Saka.
Foden,
Yeah,
Harry Kane,
no,
Marcus Rashford.
yeah. I would
many
even say
players do you want?
Grealish though.
Have they not got?
Grealish.
Is this not enough quality to beat Wales or America?
No.
Oh,
Mate,
okay.
I'm talking bigger picture than that. Of course,
Okay,
I
fair
think
enough.
they topped this group, but they were blessed. They've been blessed with some really good runs in tournaments over the last few years, and I think that runs out here, and all those players out of form is going to hurt them.
Question without notice, Scotty, because I agree with you about Southgate. If you could pick one of the other Premier League managers to take over that England team to get the best out of them, who are you taking?
Obviously, no Pep, right? We're just going to sit him on the bench, or it's
Sit him on the bench, yeah. Go the rest.
A manager who's going to go in, get him playing attacking football.
Yep. So that rules out Conte.
Oh, mate, he was never in the competition.
I'm glad you caught that.
I probably think with this team, Jurgen Klopp or Mikel Arteta would probably get them playing some more attractive football. I'd go for either of those guys.
Yeah.
I actually think Chelsea's main man, Mr. Potter, I think would do good there, or the current Brighton man, the new one, Dizabi, again, I think he would do. Again, he's not English, but I think he'd do wonders with that team as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, who knows what might happen if England don't go too well. There may well be a job vacancy, and it'd be interesting to see who takes over next. RJ, what's your thoughts on this group, man?
Very interesting, actually. England on paper very strong. We've got some quality individuals, and they have to try to be fair on Southgate. They have performed for him when he has played the loyalty card, so it's an intangible thing to measure, so it's hard to quantify. But last tournament they lost by a spot kick or two, so judge him all you want. Results speak louder than words, but he was so close. So we all like to poke fun at his managerial experience, but he's actually done pretty well to assemble this squad to being almost European champions. Can he do better? For sure. But the players around him, he has control over who he picks. So this will be squarely on him. It's a make or break sort of campaign in terms of how to progress. In terms of the whole Reece James sort of situation, I feel sorry for him. Of course, anybody wants to play a World Cup. But equally, they've got to think what's best for the collective. They've obviously made a decision that they're covered well enough, even though I don't necessarily agree. They're covered well enough, and it's not worth taking the risk on. But this guy's going to play another 3 World Cups anyway, all things, fingers crossed, all things going his way. So enough of that. I do think they'll top their group convincingly. I think US, they've got an interesting team. They've got some pretty good attackers, obviously, with Captain America as well, Christian Pulisic, who hasn't been getting the minutes he would have liked, but in his brief cameos, he has looked like a player that's still, when he can be given a turn, he's someone that can turn it on. And for his national team, he's still very much a focal point. And I think he'll feel and embrace that sense of burden and responsibility. So it'll be interesting to see that they could be a smoky to progress into the next round. But for me, it's a real flip of a coin who finishes second. So I don't know if I'm pressed on it. I might, just for a bit of an outsider's pick, I might pick them to sort of scrape through in second spot.
Here I was thinking we finally all agree. England first, Wales second, and then you have to go and
Wales is a good team, but I'm not 100% sold on them. I don't know.
I'm putting Iran to get in front of America too, to be honest.
Interesting.
We'll see.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I think the US are a funny team. I agree with you. I think they're a team that, I don't think they're going to get out the group, but I think they're just going to cause trouble. I just think they've just got enough about them. But again, there's always a smoky in every World Cup that comes through and we go, wow, didn't see that one coming. Could well be the US as well. So, and look, let's finish up with the groups with our mighty Socceroos. Group D, France, Australia, Denmark, and Tunisia. Tough group. Australia play their first game on the 22nd, which is the second day of competition at the Al Junib Stadium. Scotty, I'll start with you. With the Socceroo squad first up, any surprises for you? Because, everyone seems to have had an opinion on the Socceroo team of late, but generally, were you relatively happy with who Arnold went with?
Yeah, not too many big issues. I mean, Langerak for me, probably, and this is good timing coming on the back of that MacArthur game. I think Langerak should be in there over Vukovic. Um, again, club bias. I do think Arzani could have maybe offered something off the bench. But I mean, we've got a kid in Qual who I think is, in terms of Australian football, generational. I'd like to see us be really adventurous, Marty. I'd like to see Qual start.
Absolutely.
I know he can't do it for the Mariners, but
No.
I think he can do it for the other team.
He can't get in our team, mate. He can't get in our team.
That's it. That's it. Look, I'd love to. I just want to see us, particularly in this first match against France. Now, for those who don't know, if Australia aren't there, I'm backing the French. That always have, always will. But when those two do battle, I want Australia to bury them. But unfortunately, I don't think it'll happen. France are notorious for starting tournaments slowly. Yep. So if I had to pick a game to play them in, it would be that first game. And I would not be stunned if Australia took a point, because they always start slow, France, and then they kind of scrape their way out, and then they grow in strength throughout the tournament. So I just want to see us be adventurous, Marty, because this group it's doable. It's not impossible, but I want to see a brave Australia.
Yeah. So who's your tips to go through, mate?
France, obviously, at the top. And I'm not going to sound very patriotic. I wish I could. But in the interest of doing this objectively, I think Denmark might just scrape it. But this will be, I wouldn't be shocked if it's goal difference, because I think France beat everyone in the group. Yeah. And then similar to in Serbia's group, I think it comes to a shootout.
Yeah. RJ, are you in the boat of France being too strong but slow starters?
No, I think that's not necessarily what's going to happen this time around. I think they will start strong, finish strong. And unlike Scott, who's not patriotic, I will be. I think Australia, got to give him a chance, Scott, mate. Come on. Where's your Aussie fighting spirit, mate? That's it. Back him, mate. Back him with your heart and head. But Denmark is a quality team too, so I can see why Scott's going that way. And the whole idea of playing brave, I think you've also got to have an element of realism too and be a bit pragmatic. I don't think going out and being brave against France is necessarily a smart move, and I think they'll get smacked 3-4, 5-0 if they try to be too brave. So I dare say they'll be pragmatic against France. I'd like to see some bravery against the others, because we don't know how they're going to perform. There's still some quality players in that Socceroo squad. Yep. And obviously young Garang, let's just say he's very good quality, and I hope that he does light up the stage, the world stage. So look, I'm not someone that's renowned for betting with my head on this sort of stuff, so I kind of want to say Australia can dig and scrape their way through. And because there's absolutely no risk in all of this, I'm going to follow my heart here and tip the Aussies to fight tooth and nail to scrape through in second position.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Robby, no Pogba in the French team, no Kante. Couple of names different. France haven't been, I can't say overly impressive, but they're a strong squad. Let's not deny it. You've got them coming first in the group, but do you give the Socceroos a chance?
I haven't got them. No, I haven't got them coming first. No. I've got the Danes coming first in this group. Again. No. Look, I like Scotty. He likes to shake his head all the time, mate. Like, he just straight away he sees France like they're going to win the World Cup straight away. Again, he's right. They always start slow. Again, Kante and Pogba in the French team is a massive drop-off. They've got some young talent there, Tchouameni, the young Camavinga, but no experience.
No good forwards.
Varane, coming in on the back of an injury, he's for the French team again, he's one of the mainstay. Lloris, for me, Achilles heel. I just don't rate him at the moment. And I think they can leak goals, which they have. Denmark have done the double head-to-head, both home and away against France this year. They are not a pushover, and this is not just a France B squad, even though their B, C, and D squad have got that much quality. Denmark are a team, as we've seen in the Euros last year, without Christian Eriksen, they made it to the semi-final. They haven't got goals, a lot of goals up front, but they've got a mad chemistry in the team. And I back them. I think this could go down to goal difference for whoever wins the group. I think they're definitely good enough to beat or definitely get a point against the French. And I see them winning on goal difference just because I think they get a really good start. I do think Australia give the French a bit of a fight. I don't think it's going to be a blowout if they play smart, like RJ said. And I think the goal difference possibly, if they get a good start against Tunisia, maybe 3-4, I think it could be on goals that decides this. Again, Pedro, I really want Australia to do really well, and everyone's looking at that second game, Tunisia. But again, Tunisia is going to be looking at Australia and how we're looking at them. They're not, everyone's like, oh, Tunisia, like we're going to go in there, like we're going to beat Peru last year in the last one, and they pumped us 3-0. Like, again, I really hope the Aussies do great, but we've got to show a little bit of respect for these other countries as well. For me, again, I think the two powerhouses of the group, Denmark for me edged this on goal difference, and yes, the French. I think they break the curse that they started back in '98 about World Cup champions that go out in the group stages. Because look, we never would have called Italy and Germany. So crazier things have happened before, but I do think the French break it and they get second place here.
Absolutely.
What gives you so much faith in this Denmark squad, though, Robbie? Like, I'm looking at it. I know you're going to say the obvious Christian Eriksen. No worries. You look at this French midfield because we've sat here already tonight.
I know the French. I know the team's stacked, man.
I listened to you guys talk up the Spanish players who are so young, telling me how they're going to be one of the teams that go real deep. But you've got Camavinga.
Why didn't they beat Denmark twice this year then? We're just in the same conversation.
Jordi Fairytale. Like,
Denmark beat French twice this year. Why are you not showing them respect for the same team?
No, I mean, World Cup is a different story.
What's the difference? Story. Nations League, man, it's the same thing. They take it. Don't say they don't take it seriously. They're the reigning champions of it.
You can't say it's
you can't say, mate. Who said that they're going to get beaten by Senegal in 2002 and went out in the group stage? True. It's a World Cup, mate. True. Anything can happen. And look, I know the French team.
So who in Denmark, though? Who are the players in that Danish team that you're looking at and thinking they're the guys that propel them above France in this group?
For Schmeichel at the back he's the captain of the team and he always turns up again.
We've seen Leicester.
No, he's not even playing at Leicester anymore. Is that Nice? And he's not having. Nice. He's not in form either. But again, for his national team, he always turns up. Again, it's not. I'm not even just putting Eriksen because they made the semi-final without Eriksen. They got Kerr at the back there. They got Dolberg. There's a few players that are sprinkled around Europe that they got that team out. Look, I still got enough respect for them after doing the double home and away against a very good French team. So I think both of them advanced, but I'm tipping them on goal difference to go through still.
Fish.
Tell them they're wrong, Marty. Tell him. Come on, mate. Come on.
I'm just the host, mate. I just agree with everybody and nod my head. That's my job. So no, but look, it's the World Cup, and I've said all night that there's smokies that get results that you go, gee, I didn't see that coming. Like someone forces a draw, or someone gets a win, or it's a blowout in one game that brings goal difference into the whole thing. I mean, and that's what I love it about the World Cup. You play 3 games. It's not like you've got a full season. And I think there's teams, if we were looking at all these teams playing in one division over a full season, I think we'd have different teams coming in because they're consistently the way that they play. Some of these teams come in and they just put it on for the World Cup and then that's it. And I think that's the magic of it all. So, look, I'd love to tip the Socceroos to come through, and I'm going to say that they will anyway because I'll, I'd love to back them, but I still think France will be too good. But again, I don't write off the others, and I agree about Tunisia as well because we look at them as being the 3 points only because we think they're the weakest in the group. The weakest in a World Cup group is not necessarily that weak. So, but look, boys, that's all of the groups done, and in a lot of the groups, the first and second teams have been swapped around and we've had a few differences in there. That's obviously going to make the difference in the next round where first place, second and all this sort of thing. So now we're going to come to the creme de la creme of football picking and choosing who is going to win the World Cup. And Robbie, I'm going to start with you. Who's going to win the Qatar World Cup 2022? Denmark.
Look, I would love nothing more than a new someone that hasn't wanted to win it, to be honest, but I don't see that happening. I think there's too much of the powerhouses and they will make it deep here. Look, begrudgingly for me, I think at the moment, I change my mind every day, but today you've got me on Brazil again. I'm all for funny stuff, and I think, 98 and 2018 was France. 2002, 2022. I think Brazil is stacked all over the park. I've done the bracket quite a few times. I'll be amazed if, for me, they're definite top 4 team, and I think they can go all the way if they can adapt to the situation. Look, as an Italian, I don't want it to happen. I don't want them to get a 6-star, but I do think they're the team to beat this year.
Absolutely. RJ, where's your sensible money on?
Brazil's very sensible money, to be honest with you, but so is Argentina, so is France. There is some sensible money being thrown around. Obviously, the big name players France has lost hurt their chances, but you never know, the young guns might shine. So, yeah, to be pressed, I probably would be saying Brazil, as painful as that is to say. But for Thiago Silva, I couldn't be happier if that did happen. But obviously, my GOAT, Lionel Messi, if he could win for Argentina, that would settle the debate once and for all. So, one of them two for me.
And Scotty, what do you think, mate?
Mate, I'm hoping that my bracket predictor comes true, because have a listen to this for some juicy semi-finals. Argentina and Brazil in one semi, with Brazil to end the imposter GOAT's legacy and go to the final. And then France hosting Spain, and France to beat Spain in that semi, setting up a repeat of 98. Brazil and France World Cup final. And for me, I think we keep the same script, man. It just won't be Zidane running riot this time. It'll be Kylian Mbappe probably, or my man, Oli Giroud. I do think France have too much strength. They always get better as the tournament progresses. The biggest challenge for France will be getting out of the group, which I do think they'll do anyway. So France to win this to me. Go back to back.
Back to back. Well, for me, it's Argentina. As I said at the start, I just think, they're up for their 3rd win. I think the Copa America said a lot. I think they've got a lot of attacking prowess, and they're decent enough at the back, as much as everyone, as I said earlier, seems to write them off at the back, but I think they're good enough there. I just think if you look at the brackets a little bit, how it could end up, I just see Argentina. But look, to me, it's quite an open World Cup. I think there are a number of sides, if results go certain ways in groups, that anyone could win it. But we will see. We will play this again in about 6 weeks' time, and we will see how accurate we have all been or not have been. Boys, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on this journey to go through the World Cup. Absolutely had a ball. Don't forget, everyone, the It's a Football Thing boys. They're on Tuesday and Thursday night on their YouTube channel. Make sure you give them a follow. Check them all out. Come and join me in the live chat. Bring your Spurs shirts. Bring your Spurs hats. Wave those flags. Bring some common sense to the debate. But I'm sure you'll have a great time, because the boys they do some fantastic stuff on there, and I always have a ball every time I jump on and join them. That has been our show for today. Thank you so much for watching it. Enjoy the World Cup, and we'll check out our predictions at the end of it all. See you, boys.
Ciao.
And that's our show for today. A massive thank you to Scotty, to RJ, and to Robby, the guys from It's a Football Thing, the YouTube channel. As I said, every Tuesday night, every Thursday night, they put on a show live. There's a live chat that is absolutely pumping. It's fantastic. You get so many great characters in there. Banter flying left, right, and center. All the links that you'll need for the guys are down in the description below. Make sure you check them out. Show them some love. They do an absolutely sensational job. And I've really got to know these guys over the past couple of seasons. And, it's something I look forward to on a Tuesday and a Thursday night. Make sure you check them out, because, as I said, they do a great job. So we really appreciate them jumping on today, and we'll see how their predictions go. A couple of Brazils, a France, and an Argentina from yours truly. We will see what happens. If you've enjoyed the show today and you want to check out some other episodes, we've started to build up a few now, and I'd love you to come subscribe to the channel. If you hit that little red button in the corner, it'll take you straight to where you need to go. Generally, as I said, we're A-League content, we're Australian football content. We share the love around the different teams. We get different people on to talk about their particular teams. We're here to promote the A-League and all the fun things about it. And occasionally we'll discuss some things that aren't so great. But as I said, if we don't talk and promote and help build the A-League for both men's and women's competitions, well, we have no A-leagues to support, and that's not a good thing for football in this country. So really appreciate it. Come and join the family. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you'll know when all the new videos have arrived. Smash that like button. If you like the boys, I know there'll be some people here watching from their usual crew on the It's a Football Thing podcast. Make sure you hit the like, boys. Show them some love to tell them what a great job they did today, and as they normally do on their own show as well. But thanks so much for joining me. Enjoy the World Cup. If you want to put in the comments too who you think's going to win. Do you agree with any of us on the panel about who's going to win the World Cup? I'd love to see your comments as well. Thanks for sticking around till the end. We'll catch up with you very, very soon. It's been the Marty Mariner Show.